This is the Steropsis.
It's very funny that a supposedly Christian state is banning open preaching. Soludo actually came out some weeks ago when he was arresting native doctors, and I made a video in this podcast actually saying, watch out this man, that his next target is going to be the church. And now he has come out to ban open preaching. And a lot of people who were actually applauding him when he was actually going against the native doctors in Anambra State. And I did make a video where I said I'm not against rogue native doctors. Say, well, I'm also not him going after rogue pastors also. But this things must be done in accordance with our law. And the governor declared that Anambra is a Christian state. But I was surprised to see the same Christian states have actually prohibited open preaching.
If you want to preach the word of God, you go to your church. Are you getting me? You are causing pollution. You cannot come to a marketplace and begin to disturb everybody else. Are you getting me? If you want to preach the word of God, you go to a church. The person who wants to come to your church will come to your church. But you don't force everybody. In a marketplace, people have come to trade. It's not a church. So you don't do that. They would have arrested you, contravening the law. Okay? You don't come out and take a space and start preaching. It's noise. How the candidate will microphone, you are polluting the place. It's illegal. Okay? Everybody has freedom of worship. If you want to worship, we protect everybody. But you don't go to the middle of a market where people are coming to trade and turn it into a church.
Now, some people will argue that, yeah, it's cool, you keep your faith to yourself, that there's nothing wrong with Soludo doing it. Now, Soludo made a comment there that is noise. The word of God is noise. You've heard it. And the election is coming on November 6th. And he said some other things are very important to note. If you want to preach, you go to your church and preach. Now, I want to ask Soludo, how do you evangelize then? Because in the Christian faith, they were mandated to go out and preach the gospel. So how are you going to reach out to those who are not Christians? And that's actually the main point of actually taking it to the streets. Sometimes there are people who have been in church, who have not been in church for a very long time. They used to come to church, but for a very long time, they've not been in church. So by taking the message to sometimes the streets, some people can be in their house even praying. Sometimes the church is taking close to their house, where you've seen people who, when the message is going on, even within the streets, and the speaker gets to their house, they're living close to that place, and you see them people following up, giving their life to Christ, and then people receiving healing along the line. But now, Soludo is against that. And he met a young man who was preaching, and he told him that just leaving for now, that he should have arrested you. What you're doing is against the law. Now, why do Christians do this? There are a lot of things. There are a lot of the teachers, faith leaders like Christ and Muhammad, who actually preached openly or taught openly. Jesus did it in a lot of places, in synagogues, some in the temple, some in open places, some in the riverside, some in the mountainside, where he taught a lot. There are a lot of this in the New Testament where Christ actually organized, I think, one of the famous teachings he had around the mountainside, which was in the Mark 7 or thereabouts. Now, what does Soludo mean by this? Because if people are pushed back enough when he was arresting the native doctors, doing everything, just saying anything that comes to his mind, then by now, he would have had the second thoughts before just coming out to say anything. Because I've seen politicians campaigning inside markets, but it's not noise. When they campaign inside markets, it's not noise. Now, during the campaign, sometimes they even close the markets when they're campaigning, but that's not noise. It's when somebody is teaching, when somebody is trying to give life, that's when it's noise. But the other one, when they're campaigning for the office, they do everything. They go to the church. That's not noise. When they give you a microphone to talk in churches. I saw one of his videos where he was actually received in the church, carried politics to church. And I think our faith leaders are hearing this. When some of them win second term, or they want you to pray for them, organize people to them to vote, you should remind them of this. This is a very serious thing, and I think Christians have to take this in serious. If you're a Christian in Anambra, or you have to take this very serious. Because this is how it starts. One day, somebody can stand up and decide to pass a law that will even vet what the preachers are preaching, or even decide to license preachers, or prohibit any person that is not licensed from preaching. And then, or decide to tempt somebody an extremist, and then that's how you will not be able to preach. And we must fight this back. And if this is allowed to go on, you don't know what will happen next. And not even saying for other states, but particularly somebody, you should know that he was playing politics, because for him to say Anambra, where he was trying to commission the security outfit in Anambra, so he made that comment that Anambra is a Christian state, and he had a lot of pushback actually from the Omenala people, the traditionalists, who said no, Anambra is not a Christian state. But I know Anambra has, I think over 90% of Anambrarians are Christians. But what he has done, that every Christian, even if you're not going to speak openly about it, on November 6th, for those who are from Anambra State, and then they have to actually give him a response.